you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Finance Committee meeting. Today is March 16th, 2022. It's 6:35. This evening, we'll be reviewing some of the articles on our annual town warrant and for the special town warrant. As for convenience, they haven't been numbered yet. But first of all, and very importantly, I'd like to introduce a new member of our committee, Norma Slocum. Scoggins, thank you very much, Norma. We just appointed her with the appointing committee across the hall, and she'll be sworn in tomorrow morning. She's sitting here as she has the last two meetings, I believe you've been. Three, indeed.
She's singing the Star Spangled Banner tonight, too.
You don't want that.
We'll try her out later, Tom, and then we'll see.
Do you have a French horn handy?
But give it to him, good, that's what he needs. But we welcome you, and tomorrow morning you can go down Town Hall, and I believe the paperwork and the like that you have to fill out, not only for the being sworn in, but for the harassment, open meeting law, et cetera, is in your packet that I gave you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, and welcome, and then certainly you'll fit in just well, as you did when we had the review of all the budget meetings, yes, thank you.
You can put up with that, you can put up with the rest of it.
I'll be fine.
Okay, moving right along. The first one is a review of the petitioned articles, Article 19.
You want to do present? Take
Roll call. Roll call? Oh, thank you very much. Yes, Mr. Clerk, do the roll, please.
We have Jody Smith, Norma Gogan, is it?
Scoggin.
Goggin, okay, although you're not sworn in, it's close enough for government work. Dave Hurd, Vice Chair, Chair Bernie Pidgeon, myself, Jerry Stefanski, Matt Roast, Don Camarano, and Tom Worthen, who hasn't paid his dime yet to sit there.
He doesn't realize that this coat charge is going up 15 cents an hour,
Finance Committee.
unpaid, if it's unpaid.
Thank you. Does anyone have a choice? Now, Annie Hayes, did I make? Yeah, I believe Annie was going to be here this evening for Article 19, and, oh my gosh, I think I made a mistake. But anyway, Article 20 for the affordable housing. Tom, where's? No? Brenda, which one do you want to present for?
Well, I have four of them.
Yes.
But I thought, which number? I can't see that.
On the agenda, 21.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought I was the third one. I thought it was Annie and then Jody with, Indigenous.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
According to the agenda that you emailed.
My apologies, I don't know why, there seems to be confusion here. Because I know there's only two, the one, 23 and 24 for Leslie.
Oh, you had it as 19, 21, then 20.
Yes,
So you wanna do mine first, or you wanna?
yes, please, Brenda.
Okay.
You want to do 20
Sure,
first?
thank you, sorry.
No, that's quite all right, it could be for some reason or other, there's
I
a,
just
some
figured it would go
confusion.
in order, so,
Yeah.
silly me.
Fred, you don't have any paperwork, do you? You didn't print it? You had an extra one, no?
For a warrant,
For what we're doing?
I don't have one other for the, what the order is, I'm sorry.
Warrants or nothing, no?
Pardon?
You don't have a copy of the warrant?
I have a copy of my copy.
It's okay.
Yes,
Okay,
Brenda,
affordable
please.
housing. Hello, gentlemen and ladies. Nice to see that we finally have a woman on the finance committee.
Agreed.
Hasn't been on in a while, so welcome. If you remember last, at the last annual town meeting, I had done an affordable housing, bylaw. And it took until December 23rd to be approved at the Attorney General's office. because they had never seen anything like it, and so I'm very happy for that. But there were a couple of spots in it where they said that, like, I was using the word affordable housing, whereas DHCD uses the language of low to moderate income housing, and then they have a definition. So what I essentially did was I just put in to create affordable housing that meets the DHCD's LIP requirements and receives approval. The term affordable is used to mean income eligible household, just things like that, which are all the things, the sizes of them, things that I didn't have in it. So that all this is doing is just getting it so that if anyone builds under this, it will count towards our affordable, because it would be a waste of time for them to be building and having us not be able to count it on our subsidized housing inventory. So that's all this is just any, like they wanted, I spoke with DHCD, I wanna say her name wrong, Riko Hayashi. It's Rieko, so Riko Hayashi. And I sent it to her, and she went through and edited it as to what we needed to put in it to satisfy DHCD. So like this one, where it says any engineering costs and filing fees to subdivide the lots may be recouped in the sale. Things like that I didn't have in there before. But that's pretty much it. It's just to satisfy and cure any of the issues with it.
So we've got to hear it again and approve it again.
Well, no, here's actually the thing, is that we don't have to hear the whole thing again. It's already approved. But if we don't approve these changes, we may not be able to get all of them to count on our affordable housing.
Well, you made a promise that within 6 months it would be over 10%.
Well,
When this thing,
listen,
kicked
when
off.
it kicks in, and I'm telling you right now, I've been working with the town administrator. I drafted an entire proposal. I'm waiting for them to say, okay, you can do this. And I already have the applications, the presentation, everything for residents. I've spoken to a few developers or property owners already that have been interested. One of them could take advantage of it, one of them couldn't, but they were very nice, and
6 months, you got 6 months, that's good.
I'm working on it.
Okay,
I
good.
promise, Tom.
All right.
Can you, I'm sorry, go ahead, Tom.
So basically, it's just dot the i's, cross the t's,
That's it,
That's
Just
the-
cleaning up things.
that's all.
yeah.
And Brenda, could you name any projects that we might have missed that we would have been able to had this been in place? Any projects that have been either under construction or have,
If this, in the past 6 months,
yes,
no. I know that, right now, we're, the ones that are over on Red Brook Road, the 150 unit one and the 20 unit one. I know the 20 unit one, they came in front of zoning and asked to change from for sale to rent. And, I spoke there, and, along with other residents, not just me, but, and the board agreed to keep it as for sale. It's being appealed, but I just spoke to Attorney Bowen, and he's, invited me to go in to speak at the, housing court, on this issue. So hopefully, we'll be able to keep them as for sale, and this may be the key to help us with that, so.
excellent, excellent. Any other questions?
Have you talked to the residents who will be directly affected by this? The ones who are in this area where you're talking about a 5,000 square foot lot, and there's been a 5,000 square foot opening beside them for years, and all of a sudden the zoning is changing, so you'll be building next to them.
I've spoken to several people on it. No one really seems to be upset. Like for example, like in Indian Heights, Indian Mound area, they've had people that what they've been doing is they have their little cottage, and they've actually ended up using like the little cottage as like their entranceway almost, because they built such a big home behind it, beside it. So that's happened in a few areas, so people are kinda like, well, it'd be nice to have a house there instead of, blocking the shade or whatever, so. I haven't had anyone come at me negatively about it. So, but, there's always a first.
Of course, there's always
And I'm
somebody.
sure I'll get that, but right now I haven't had, it's been positive.
Have you any idea how many units we're talking about with this proposed zoning change?
Um,
How many are eligible?
how many are eligible? Well, I went through that area, the Indian Heights, Indian Mound area, and, I found about 23 that were eligible. So in that area, and I'm sure I either missed a few or whatever, but if there's 23 in that area, and I'm not saying that everyone would do it, but there's 23 that can build another house. There are also ones in other areas that can build an in-law apartment, because that's the other side of it too.
And how about
So-
like a place like Swift's Beach?
Swift's Beach, well, Swift's Beach, again, they have to be 5,000 square foot lots, which sometimes in Swift's Beach, that's a premium. But just along Swift's Beach Road, there's 4 or 5 that could actually do it. Now, the lots there was 7,500, so it can't be a 5,000, it has to be a 7,500. But I just spoke with someone who has 2 10,000 square foot lots that on either side, and that was what the zoning originally was there, so they can do it. So, yeah, it depends on the area, really. But, and I know in my area, like in my neighborhood area, it was like 23 of them that I found that were vacant lots that could be done.
I'm gonna do it, Dave, in the onset.
Say that again?
I'm gonna do it in onset. I have a building with, there's 2 lots. In that area, there are 3,600 square feet. So I got 2 next to it, so that's 70, whatever.
7,600 or 7,400.
So before, when I went to try to build it, I would have had to go and get the ownership to 1956 and go to all the neighbors and all that kind of stuff. It's gonna eliminate it. So I think it's cool.
Okay.
And as I said, this is already passed. So this is really just, as you said, crossing the Ts, dotting the Is, so that we make sure everything that's built will satisfy DHCD, so that it counts.
So what you're asking here is an enhancement to what you had passed the last town meeting.
I don't know if it's quite an enhance, well, I guess you could use that word. I'm just really
Didn't expand it, but it just filled it out.
clarification, yeah.
Yes.
Clarifying it, right,
That's a better word, clarification.
yeah.
Anything else?
Good work, Brenda.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you. You wanna go on to your next one, Brenda?
Oh, okay, if you want.
22,
All right, 22
choosing the
is,
order of articles.
I was just gonna say, yeah, which, cause I have my original ones, I don't have which ones were which. but,
Eliminate the warrant article lottery process.
Oh, yes, okay. The article, to eliminate the warrant, the lottery process, we had initially done that because we were trying to, and I don't mean that I don't want people there, but we initially did it because the, we had to have 100 people there for a quorum and 150 people there to do anything over $5,000. And what was happening is community preservation would be further along in the thing, in the warrant. And so by the time we went to do something with community preservation, we wouldn't have 150 people there if it, if it was over 5,000. So they decided to do the lottery process. But now that we have a quorum of 0, there's no sense in trying to juggle it. And to be honest, I talked to people and they were, I had somebody say to me that they don't often, agree with me on things, but they said, it's so confusing that even when I go, I just look over and I see how you're voting, I vote the other way. Which is fine. Which is fine, but I would like people to be able to know what they're voting. And I think that if you have it in a certain way, I know people that prepare things to write, and then we're flipping pages and they're dropping pages and stuff. So there's really no need to keep it. And not only that, but if, we just saw in February that when there's a special interest for a special thing, it doesn't matter that people load it, load the town meeting. So, if you are, if you want to go for a particular article, it's kind of nice to know, oh, they have 25 articles, this should be towards the end, or this might be the second night, or something like that, especially if you're working and or need a babysitter or something like that. And so I just don't think that we need to do the lottery process anymore. And if you think about it, when you go in to vote, you vote for the governor, you vote for your state rep, there might be 4 questions. You might vote for one of them, but you don't vote for everything sometimes, or some people don't. And it should be, they should be able to vote for what they want and not have to sit through stuff, and that's all.
Questions, John? Yes, Jody?
You think I'm gonna sit here all night quiet? Well, I couldn't disagree more on this.
That's fine.
No, and I first moved to Wareham. I've only been here 5 years. That first they did was a school vote, and I had helped somebody write an article that came up after the school, and they were very disappointed the place emptied out. School was a major issue, and I understand that, but I felt bad for them. A lot of work went into that by a lot of people. Mm-hmm. In the other part of that, having come from another town where quorum was 70, people would legitimately come in and try to get at the end of the warrant because they knew people were tired, they didn't care, and they just wanted to go home. And that's just human nature.
And I
Yeah.
do, and I understand that,
Yeah,
but when we've decided that our quorum is 0, then we don't care if people are there or not. Seriously. There's nothing, in my opinion, there's nothing more to say, we don't care if you show up or not, is by setting the quorum at 0. So I think that, I talk to so many people that don't come because they work at night. They need a babysitter. If they get a babysitter one night and it goes through to the next night, then, and their thing hasn't come up. So, I understand what you're saying, but I just think that to go from A to Z it's less confusing to people, and it's kind of like when you do things like that. I talk to people all the time, and there was one particular thing that I disagreed with the count, and I stood up and I said, if you disagree, stand up. We need 7 people. Well, those are things that people don't know. So people that come to town meeting, if you're already confused and you're not sure what to do, and then we're flipping back and forth, I just think that it makes it tougher. It's great for people in the know. It's lousy for people that aren't.
Well, unfortunately, not everybody's an informed voter, whether it's a presidential election or whatever the case be, but going another night to me is not a big deal.
For you.
We got through in 7 nights where I came from. It was great, because we'd go 9 to 10 meetings.
Right,
9 to 10 nights, let me rephrase that.
and for you, that's fantastic. But if you're a waitress and, you're getting a babysitter so you can come because it's something that matters to you, I don't expect I don't expect everyone to come and be able to hold every line item on the budget, But I also don't expect someone that if they say, well, we got to pay our bills, so the budget's the budget. I don't expect them to sit through 3 hours of people arguing about the budget and they don't get to speak their mind on something that they cared about. So.
Well, the unfortunate part, people don't say much about the budgets, but a $10,000 article comes up and you spend hours on it.
Want to hear
And that's true everywhere.
Can
I'm
I
not
tell
just
you-
saying
can
that's
I
a
tell you a
Wareham
good
thing.
secret? Years ago, I remember Mary Ann Silva was the town clerk, and they were giving her, I don't know, like say from 45,000 to 48,000 or something. It was a decent sized salary raise. And she says, "Oh, I'm so nervous about it. It's just gonna be terrible." And I said to her, "I'll take care of it." And I went out to the audience and I said to someone, "Don, can you do me a favor? Make a motion to pay the selectmen $500 a year." We fought for over an hour and a half whether the selectmen deserved a $500 stipend or not. And then when that was done, they just went right past, didn't even bother with the clerk or the moderator at the time. It was, but, so, you know, you can, yeah, okay.
David?
Yes, I'm in favor of this, again, because I do find it confusing to people to change the numbers. I do understand why it was done when we had a quorum. I've been at other towns where you had zoning changes, for example, and as soon as that particular zoning change was turned down, there was nobody left, and that does happen. That does happen. As far as multiple nights of town meeting, when was the last time in Wareham we had a town meeting that lasted more than 2 nights? Or more than 1 night?
2 nights we've done.
But when? It hasn't been in the last 8 or 10 years.
Oh, yeah, it is.
But we,
No, not since I've been here.
We've done a couple, maybe 5, 7 years ago, we did a couple nights in a row, but since I've been around, we've never done 3. We've done 2 a few times, but not 3.
well, you also have to remember though, is that Madam Moderator is not going to be the moderator after this. She's not running again, right? Right, so there'll be a new moderator. So I do remember when we had them run 4 or 5 nights.
That was
It's been a while,
15 years, 20 years ago.
probably 15 or 20 years ago when we had some issues, but I've been on the board since, 2014, and we've never gone more than 1. So Claire's done a good job,
Oh,
Very good.
I'm,
and this should make it easier.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm not,
Thank you.
thank you.
But whatever way you do, I've been in 3 different versions of this now. Through parliamentary rules, I could change it right from the beginning. I could make a motion that we do lottery. And if it's approved by town meeting, we're doing lottery that night. Or we go in their order. And as it currently stands, you could easily come up and say, I want a particular article to be handled first. And if you have enough votes within the town meeting, that's the first one. So you can go out of order just through parliamentary procedures, easily enough.
Robinson's rules, you're correct.
So you can change it one way, and that night will be handled a different way, because town meeting wants to do that way. And as Jody has mentioned, yeah, there's some that clears the room. If I went for an article, let's say, when we had February, we had 10 articles. If I moved that we do 1 and 2, which could regard the LLC, then that place would have cleared out. No one was interested in anything else.
That was the-
Those are always the possibilities, but you can change that by just parliamentary rules, just change it, Robert's rules. So I'm not sure how important changing it is, from my perspective.
Well, you also have to remember is that if you have a moderator that says, I'm not gonna allow that, which you can get it, then you have to argue, and now it's contentious from the very beginning. I mean, I make it contentious enough. I don't need to start off the night like that, so.
Dominic?
But you said something, the reason they did the 0 quorum was, say a whole bunch of people got up and left, and someone said, this, we need a quorum. That's why they went to 0 quorum, so that wouldn't happen. Okay, so, right, so say, like Jody said, first couple articles, boom, done, place clears out. Well, if you stood up, or I stood up, or someone stood up and said, I want to count for a quorum, and there wasn't one, case over, meeting's over. That's why they did the 0 quorum.
Right,
So
and don't-
that wouldn't happen.
But-
You said that it was, I think I can quote you a little while ago, you said that 0 quorum wasn't in the best interest of the town. Didn't you
No,
just-
no, no,
oh.
what I said that the 0 quorum, that's why they started the lottery, so that they could keep people there, have a better shot at keeping people there throughout everything.
In my conversations with Claire, when they went to zero quorum and all, and Rich Bowen, our attorney, has been moderator for 20, 30 years in another location, but amongst the group of moderators, going to zero quorum, no one has ever had an issue, and they even got close to being concerned about it. We've always had well over 100 at any of the meetings since I've been in this community.
Only at the beginning, Bernie.
Yeah.
Only at the beginning of the night. I've
just
seen it clear out plenty of times.
Oh, indeed, they have.
I was gonna say, I thought December, when we did the outside COVID one, it was only 43 people.
It wasn't a lot, but I don't remember
Which
the
one is
exact
that now?
amount.
When we did it at the VFW outside, because of COVID, it was only
Oh,
43
indeed, yeah.
people.
Mhm.
So, but the quorum's not, I mean, the quorum's not the issue really, it's just to do it in order. So
Yeah.
that's all.
From my point of view, it could go either way from my,
Bernie?
because as I said, I've been in both environments. Yes, Jerry?
So Brenda, the
sir.
sequence of the way the articles are placed on warrant, do the citizens petitions always end up at the end?
Always.
Yes, they always do.
So, we're talking about, we're always gonna have 10 people there then, to the end, because it needs 10 to go on.
Not necessarily. My
Some
husband
would
signs,
walk out.
my husband signs all of mine and he
they would
doesn't go
walk-
to town meeting.
Anyway, what you're doing is putting all the citizens petitions at the end, you know that. At the end of the night. True, or,
See, with the lottery, they could be first, second, or third, like Jerry said.
Good point.
But you're saying they're only at the end.
That's a good point.
right, so so that's what you're also saying, but you didn't say it, but it's true. It's always gonna be at the end, all the citizens petitions.
Yep,
Okay, just so everyone knows.
yep.
Careful what you ask for.
No, hey, mine are always conveniently, miraculously, mine are always pulled at the end anyway. It doesn't matter what number I am.
And I would hope that if 15 people signed an article, they
We
would
gotta
stick
go with a
around.
clicker, though. We gotta do something to make it as more efficient as possible when we are going through these things.
Yep,
And I have to agree with you, Jerry. It's that the petitioner has a right to be aired first or last, as well as any other article. So the lottery gives the petitioner a better opportunity.
But, if there's one petition article that people are hot on, and it's one of the last three, then crowds will be there to the end. I mean, what you're telling people, that citizens petitions, you're gonna have to stick around to the end.
or show up on the.
Or show up on the
Say,
second
show up
night.
at
Or the next night, yeah.
Yeah, show up
whenever,
on the
right.
second or third night, right?
And that's, like I said, that's mainly the reason is, I mean, for people to be able to, well, whatever, yeah, no, you're right. Anything
Any
else?
other questions? Concerns? No? Thank you on that one, Jody. Move on to your next one, which I think is 25.
Is that, let me see, to do it on Saturday, is that mine?
No,
Town
term-
clerk.
That's
the
town clerk elected.
Yeah, is to make the town clerk keeper elected instead of appointed.
Big mistake.
And what,
I don't think it's a big mistake.
I'm gonna tell you why.
Go ahead.
Okay. About 3 or 4 years ago, I don't remember the town. The clerk was elected. You know what they knew about being a clerk? Squat. So, but they knew enough people, they knew to get elected. Okay, so it's like hiring someone who knows nothing. That's a mistake. If you appoint someone, then you're gonna look at their resume, you're gonna make sure that they can do the job. If you elect someone who doesn't know how to do the job, just because they're a popular person, you end up with a poor employee. That's the end of the conversation in a nutshell, as far as I'm concerned. That's how I feel.
And you have that right to feel that way, but what I feel is that the town clerk is supposed to be the impartial keeper of the records.
In
Now,
which they could be impartial either way.
Yeah,
If they're a popular person and they get voted in, they still might be
no,
partial.
and what I'm saying is that
Okay, good.
when you have someone appointed,
Yes.
they are beholden to the people who hired them. And if you look at, I'm telling you, as the town clerk, keeping them elected, you're right, I mean, you have that chance, but that's why you have people in the office. So that if someone gets hired and they're not as experienced, the people in the office, the day-to-day employees, are aware of this stuff, and that they have clerk seminars, they have a clerk email that you write out questions to ask other clerks. What I'm saying is that when you have a clerk that is appointed, and she is writing to the selectmen to ask them, what do I do about this? Should I accept this or not? Then that is a problem.
Okay, one more thing. If they're elected, you have to keep them as long as their elected term. If they're appointed, they can be fired.
Not if they're doing your bidding.
Brenda,
Brenda, so what you're saying, basically what you're saying is then,
It's corrupt both ways.
it's a corrupt, so that the clerk's position is a corrupt position? What would they gain besides a job by being partial or biased or however, whatever word you want to put in there?
Well, I don't know, why don't we see what the clerk's position has gone up in the last 3 years? It's almost doubled in salary.
And so is most every other thing. I
No,
don't think
come on.
I don't think the clerk's overpaid. I don't. I do not think that clerk job is an overpaid
No,
job.
no. I'm
You
not
believe-
saying,
you-
I'm
you
not,
believe it is?
I'm not saying it is, I'm saying,
okay.
when you hire a position,
Quiet down.
when you hire a position and it goes up $10,000 a year for 3 years, and that position is also writing letters to the selectmen saying, should I accept this article? Should I accept this? Should I stamp this in? I think it's a problem, and when people see things like that, then they can vote them out. They can either recall them or vote them out. But if you're doing the work for the people here, hey, listen, like and I'm not saying this happened, this did not happen, but geez, I was supposed to have this stamped in yesterday. And they say, oh, well, here, I'll just put yesterday's date on it, put my initials, and I'll say that it was here. That's a problem.
That could happen whether they're elected or appointed.
Well, you have to consider
It
too.
makes the town work, too. I mean, there's a certain amount of judgment in something like that,
You have to
What's the
consider too,
impact?
in retrospect, there's been a number of positions in this building that were appointed and are now full-time. Were elected and are now appointed. Are you suggesting all of those are susceptible to fraud? Because
Well, you know, listen,
your logic follows, you have those situations.
those ones were done years ago, and when I have if I have I know I'm being very careful.
Be careful, you get
If
some
I
in
have a
trouble.
position that I say to them, this, you know, what's going on with this, that, or the other thing, and they say, I don't know, and I say, but that's your job, and they say, well, and this is not now, and the town administrator told me that they would take care of it, and for me not to worry about it anymore. That's a problem. Now, I'm not saying, Derek, I'm not,
Right, you're not saying
I'm
it
not saying
happened, I
that, I'm
understand.
saying,
You're
these
fictitious.
are things that have
You're
happened.
fictitious.
Now, have we gotten beyond those? I hope so. But this is a brand new position. It's always been elected, and I mean, it's brand new to being appointed. And I just don't think it should be. I think it should answer to the people,
Well,
not
one-
to the,
I give you an example of answering to the people. Individual is elected, shows up the first day, they don't see him again after that. Now, what am I supposed to do?
Recall
I have
them.
I have to
You
go through a
know-
recall process.
Oh,
which
it's a
takes-
nightmare.
Yes, it is a nightmare
Nightmare.
recalling.
you take your
But I
problem to
haven't-
the
but if he
selectmen and
was
you say, this
appointed,
employee's not
He
doing the
wouldn't be there the
job.
following week, because he didn't show up for work.
but not if
So I
this,
have a responsibility to to the voters, to have a person in there of integrity, high integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, that person was not, but he was reelected.
but But as you said, Tom, you go to the selectmen, if the selectmen are the ones that are calling the shots.
Well, the person goes to the town manager, and the town manager or the selectman go to the town manager and say, we have this issue with this employee. They call the shots, they're in charge. So that's whether you got one, whether I'm voted in or whether I'm appointed. If the person is not measuring up or is not qualified to do the job, then it's their mission to make the change.
Okay.
That's where the problem goes.
Jerry?
Brenda, I thought that, was it last year that the people did decide that they wanted appointed?
It was part of the charter committee, and it was several things that were done at once.
So, then are we to just
And it
understand?
wasn't last year, it was about,
2 years,
yeah,
2
2
or
years
2
ago.
years. So we're just understanding that you just didn't like the vote that turned out last time, is that what we're?
No,
That's what I'm
no,
hearing from you?
what I'm
Unless
telling you,
something come up in
Something
front of
has-
you
yes.
in the last 2 years.
something has.
Okay, so you're,
Yeah, I can provide everyone with the information. I don't really wanna talk about it in public, but,
Yeah.
and it has nothing to do with me. It has nothing to do with me.
Jody?
You know, I agree with what my fellow members over there said with a lot of this stuff. But when I first saw this article, to say I was disgusted would be a mild understatement. There's a lot, insinuating things may or may not happen. To me, this was not the forum or the way you go about it. This is so wrong, for me personally, I'm not gonna speak for anybody else, me personally, so wrong at so many levels. If there's an issue, or a town person has an issue, there's a way of getting it resolved. I think the town clerk should be hired, not elected, because you don't know who you're gonna get in there. It's a very important job, it's supposed to be an impartial job, and I just think this whole article is an insult to many people that work in this building. And that's all I'm gonna say.
In Brenda, I would have to agree with Jody. Your remarks are a little too pointed in your explanation, and they're very suggestive. And I'm very disappointed knowing the people in this building. Anything else, gentlemen?
Ladies.
Nope. Okay, Brenda, we got another one, Article 26.
Yep. Having it, holding town meeting on Saturdays.
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea.
There's a few things that happen in the middle of the week that I don't understand why they have to happen in the middle of the week.
This actually was one of the things that the current moderator, Claire Smith, when she was running, this was one of the things that she said that she wanted to look into.
I heard that.
And it was the clicker
Clickers,
things
yeah.
as well that we still haven't got, but I know she was working on that. But this, especially with what happened in the last annual town meeting and special town meeting, when we
Speaking of the devil,
had over 1,000 people there, and for out there, and then we had, I don't know how many, but we had quite a few in the June meeting. So
I think it's an issue that should go before a town meeting, see what they want to do. Good evening,
Okay,
Glenn.
well, my only point is, 20 years ago, I would argue, when most people work Monday through Friday. Now people, Saturday and Sundays are almost a regular work day for a lot of people, so is night better? I know a lot of towns do Saturdays, and they're very, very happy with it, and, like I said, I think it's a 50-50, or, at the end of the day, let the people decide.
I think it has a better, if you had it on a Saturday versus when we have it now, it has more impact on the business opportunities within the town. You gotta reduce it.
They have an impact reduction, yeah.
Pardon me? Tuesday night is sort of a neutral, people aren't going out or doing other stuff. We gotta think of the people who are earning their income and being the appeal in this town. And that's who we've gotta support. So that's my view on it, sorry.
that's okay. I
Any
don't
other
take any
comments?
of this stuff personally, Tom. I don't take any of this
like
personally.
Jody said, that could go either way.
Yeah, I
People
mean,
decide.
20 years
That's
ago,
what
I mean,
people-
people just don't
that's
work
what
Monday through, a lot of people still work
Right,
Monday through
but that's a
Friday, but
people
there's
question.
so many people work weekends now.
That's a people question, yeah.
Yeah, it's a
They
big,
gotta play golf at Little Harbor for crying out loud.
It's an issue of town meeting should decide for
well, they play on
themselves.
Saturdays, they can't play at night.
Oh, that would bother your games, wouldn't it? Well, no, you're no longer in the football league and managing it,
But
but
a lot of the kids' games are
yeah, that on
on
Saturday,
weekends
that's
also.
right, yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I think
Yeah,
it
it's,
could go either way, and I think,
Yeah, oh, I
as
do
Jody
too.
said, you know, this is something for the town to decide. And everyone will have their own opinions.
But the town isn't gonna decide this, because it's only gonna be the people at the town meeting.
Well, they're representative of the town, Tom.
I understand that.
Well,
So there's gotta be somebody up above who makes it a more calculated decision as to the impact. And so we should have elections not on Tuesday, second November, the second Tuesday in November. Everybody wants them having the weekend now, but that's when we have it, and it works. Let's not, don't be tumbling around on, working on little things. There's a lot bigger things that we should be doing
Yeah.
over there.
But then again, you have to think too, on Saturday, as Jody has said, the soccer moms.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a, it's not 100% issue one way or the other.
Indeed.
well, I do know that there's a lot of seniors that have problems driving at night, so they don't come, or
Well,
they,
they're gonna come
you
to
know,
the Zoom meeting and then it's gonna be all over.
well, with the
So-
quorum of 0, no one
Huh?
has to come, so.
We're gonna go there.
Wait a minute, that reference to seniors, we don't all go to bed that early, you
No,
know?
no, I said that they can't drive at night, and I didn't mean anyone in this room, believe me, but, but I do know a few that don't drive at night, and if someone doesn't get them at town meeting, then they don't go, so.
In that we're talking about seniors, are you still on the cemetery committee?
No, I'm not,
Okay.
I haven't been on that in
You looking for a room,
9
Tom?
years.
No, I'm just trying to say,
Looking for a
I think
bed.
we should get some mausoleums built in this town. and-
That was one of my things before,
Yeah.
before
We're just taking up too much land.
Mhm.
It's,
Yeah, on the, you know where they got the property on the, that's where I was looking to do it.
well, you didn't do it.
No, we,
Or you quit.
Wow, Tom.
Never mind.
No, no,
Never
no,
mind.
no.
Never- This is over with.
I'm
You got too
sorry.
much time. Get out of
I
it.
didn't mean to, I got cancer, I didn't mean it, but, I'm better now, as you can tell.
Very good, thank you.
All right, thank you.
The next, we have, Jody, did you want to present 21 with your indigenous?
21.
Yes,
I'll come up and
please.
hello, everybody.
Hey, Jody.
By all means, go ahead.
Okay, so, I'm Jody Santigate, and just so you know, that's an Italian name. It's Santagati, but it was Americanized, so I just wanted to point that out before I started talking about Columbus Day. My great-grandfather came in from Sicily in the early 1900s, so, you know, to Rikers Island. With that being said, my children are Native American, and their family is my family because that's just who I've been with in a long time. So, many other towns have abolished Columbus Day, and I'm not talking about like the curriculum, you know, I'm sure they still discuss it in school. This has nothing to do with changing school curriculum and what they teach. It's more or less the calendar. So if you look at the calendar, the school calendar, or the town calendar, or even the day off that's considered the holiday, it's known as Columbus Day. I'm looking to change that to either Indigenous Peoples' Day or Native American Day. And I have a letter here from the chairman of the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe. I did email it to you this morning.
Yes, I've distributed it to
I just
everybody.
got it this morning, so he's been quite busy. That's why I just emailed it this morning. And it gives a little bit of a timeline about the history. And it says in 1977, the idea of Indigenous Peoples' Day was first proposed by a delegation of Native nations to the United Nations-sponsored International Conference on Discrimination Against Indigenous Populations in America. In 1977, you know, was a long time ago. It was when I was born, but things were a lot different back then as far as what they considered equal and not. Then in 1990, representatives from 120 indigenous nations at the First Continental Conferences on 500 Years Indian Resistance unanimously passed a resolution to transform Columbus Day into an occasion to strengthen the process of continental unity and struggle towards liberation. South Dakota becomes the first state to rename Columbus Day. Coming into Massachusetts in 2017, the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe enacted through resolution Indigenous Peoples' Day. And I would like to point out that that tribe, which my children are a part of, those are what we learn in the school as the Wampanoags. They were the first people to greet the Pilgrims. They were not federally recognized until 2007. They were the last. And if you go to Washington, D.C., in the Indian Museum, the Native American Museum, they still don't have a flag hanging. All the other tribes are representative, but the Mashpee Wampanoags, and there's Aquinnah Wampanoag, there's Gay Head, there's various types of
Is it
Wampanoag.
Wampanoag or Wampanoag?
It's Wampanoag. And it's not a teepee, it's a weetu, just so you know. So in 2019, the town of Mashpee becomes the first town on Cape Cod to recognize Indigenous Peoples' Day. They did that through a citizen's petition. The Board of Selectmen in Mashpee did support the idea, but it still went through a citizen's petition. 2020, Mashpee Public School Systems recognize and replace Columbus Day with Indigenous Peoples' Day. To date, there are at least 20 Massachusetts cities that observe Indigenous Peoples' Day. And the chairman of the tribe, Brian Whedon, as the first inhabitants of these lands and people of first contact with the Pilgrims adversely impacted by the legacy of Christopher Columbus, we are not supporting the proclamation to disrespect the Italian-American heritage, but to affirm and reclaim true Indigenous peoples' history. The effort to recognize Indigenous Peoples' Day is not the first of its kind and certainly not the last of the growing list of places no longer observing it as Columbus Day. We hope the timeline that I just discussed will motivate your decision. So this, again, is more of a town vote for the people to come and, obviously majority rules. But
Are you intending this to be a resolution or a motion to change?
I would like to have a motion to change it.
Because the federal government has designated Columbus Day, and they haven't changed that as yet. So it's a federal holiday as Columbus Day. All the communities that have changed that to Indigenous Day have done so as a proclamation, and they have done it individually, which is perfectly fine. My suggestion would be that you present this as a resolution, because as a motion, it has to fail because what the federal government does. They've dedicated 1937, I think it is. Yeah, as a federal holiday, as Columbus Day. But I know Indigenous has become more popular and through various communities, but they've all done that on their own as a resolution. So I would suggest that.
Okay.
Any questions, concerns? Tom?
On that point,
Yes.
is there a separate town holiday, or is it just the holiday that the federal government designates that we?
No,
observe?
the federal government designated a particular day is Columbus Day. And various communities have gone and changed that of late into, as Jody has outlined, Indigenous. But it's a local resolution.
The local resolution that wouldn't probably change anything about how it is observed
No.
in the town. But it would
Correct.
be a recognition of what you've been talking about.
Right,
Dominic?
we would say Indigenous rather than Columbus.
I'll speak up. But as you probably know, I'm biased, but that's okay. Being all Italian. Now, I'm just gonna state a real easy fact. Okay? Columbus was Italian. If Columbus did not discover America, you wouldn't even be thinking of an Indigenous People Day. So, all your people owe whatever they have, whatever they've lost, whatever they've done, owe it to Columbus. That's why it's a federal holiday, that's why it's Columbus Day, and that's why it's recognized by the Italian people. And I'll leave it at that. Okay, Tom?
No, is this a national holiday that
Yes.
banks are closed and everything else?
Yes.
Yes.
Columbus Day.
Columbus Day.
October, that's usually,
October.
yeah,
Huh?
October, it's in
So
October.
Patriots' Day is not necessarily a national holiday. Massachusetts has more than they need. Anyway, Dominic,
Yes, sir.
the Chinese were here in 1421.
So you say.
So I say, they were here.
Prove it.
Huh?
Prove it.
Okay, I'll give you.
Columbus
I'll give you-
discovered America. That's well known.
No, yeah, but he was
Okay,
using
okay.
Chinese
I
maps.
don't care what he was using. He was the first one to land on Plymouth Rock. That's the end of it.
You were in the school system down there too, right?
No,
Oh, okay.
no, I am a Brockton boy.
Jody?
So I'm only, you
I
know,
know.
let the people vote.
I know.
I'm a little biased, and I'll leave it at that.
And I agree with Dominic, even though he used to be
Used to
my
be
friend.
I know.
You know, I understand the whole history behind it and everything else, and I guess I hate to sound like Mr. Negative tonight, but seems to be going in that direction. I just feel like it's that changing our history somewhat. You know, if you were sitting here in front of me and you said you'd like Wareham to designate, what's today's date, March 15th to 16th as the day, I would have no problem whatsoever with that.
Agreed.
You know, and
Don't take
you know,
it
I
away.
understand it's not affecting the curriculum in the school and all that, and I think the kids should learn all the history. I think history is very important. You know, if you don't learn from it, you repeat it. But I just have a problem taking the Christopher Columbus name off our holidays in this town and all that, and it's a little troubling. You know, I've thought about this a lot, you know, and I understand the whole, what you're thinking in these other towns that did and stuff, and that's one of the things I like about Wareham. I've been here 5 years. It's a very diverse community, and it's kind of nice the way people get along and, you know, respect most of the time each other, you know, which I think is a great thing, you know. But I'm just a little trouble taking Christopher Columbus out of the mix. That's all. And I think the people at town meeting can make that decision. That's what the system's all about.
You know, I have a lot of friends in Wampanoag, and I believe that they should be part of our history, part of our town. You know, they had a lot to do with it. But again, if you picked another day as an Indigenous Peoples' Day, I would be more for it.
I wonder
But to
why that-
change that.
Yeah,
to
I wonder
change
why
what
no
folks-
thought's been given to that, to make even at the federal level, you know, make it a day. You know, I mean, it's,
Sure.
you know.
Don't
A
make
new
it a
holiday.
holiday,
No, but-
though. It's just too expensive to shut this country down for a
I'm not
day.
saying they don't shut Martin Luther King Day down. They don't shut Patriots
No,
Day
they
down.
don't.
Yeah.
National holiday. Come on now. it's a
Government
national
offices are
holiday.
closed. Most government offices are closed for all the little holidays, for lack of a better word. But
It's a federal holiday.
I understand it's a
Okay.
federal holiday.
Okay.
I always had to work it. We had the option of taking it off, but we had to work it.
David, you want to jump in?
Yes, I tend to agree. I don't like to see us taking existing historical dates and renaming them. Again, if you said we want to make today, the 16th of March, as National Native American Day, I'd vote for that. That's no problem. You realize that the whole month of October is National Native American Heritage Month.
Yep.
You realize that, of course. You do.
I do, but.
You do.
What
And
Columbus,
so, why did you pick Columbus?
because Columbus should not be recognized as a hero. What he did is.
Wait a minute.
Oh, that hurts.
Wait a moment, wait a moment.
Sorry, like I told you,
You're
my
right
grand,
with you. You
Wait a
got it
moment.
No,
figured
no,
out.
go ahead, you get your,
he shouldn't be. What, quite frankly, what they teach in the books is completely not true at all. And I'm not here to get into it, but what they teach is completely wrong. He was a horrible man who slaughtered, raped, scalped. I don't want to get into it. It's got to come down to the people at the town meeting to vote yes or no.
So you don't like Columbus?
No, and I don't like the fact that our kids are being taught a lie, but like I have said, we're not gonna change the curriculum. For Native children to have to go to school and know or have the day off because they're celebrating somebody who was a terrible person is not okay.
We'll just change it to Goodbye Columbus Day.
So are you saying we should talk about the Indian Wars also?
If you wanna bring it to a citizen's
No, I'm
petition,
not asking that,
go
I'm
right
saying,
ahead.
are you saying, is that what you believe we should be doing?
We don't have that as a holiday.
We have a whole month of it.
That's celebrating the Native Americans. We also have a whole bunch of other months that are geared towards various different things. Listen, it'll come down to the town vote.
Of course.
Okay,
It has no financial bearing on the town, so, you know, it's a personal, however you guys decide tonight to be in favor or not, or half in favor or half or not, has no financial bearing, so however you decide, it's a personal.
well, in addressing what your comment is, we rarely vote on petitioned articles,
Because I would make a motion to defer the town meeting, so there will
and
be.
that's typically
But
what we
that's
do.
just
So I think the petitioners all have a right to make a neutral presentation. That's not impinged in any way.
No, I
This
appreciate
is,
you
as
inviting.
as I said to someone else, I think when I was talking, this is kind of a practice session, what you might encounter on the floor of town meeting. Any other questions, gentlemen, ladies?
I'll still vote for you, George.
Thank you, Jody.
You're welcome. Oh, just kidding.
What's the town's
Well
motto?
presented.
What, huh?
What's the town's motto?
Is Andy Hayes come in?
Can't get-
Yeah.
Yeah, it's,
Is Andy here at all?
Yeah, I forget how to say it.
Recognize her,
Oh,
know
the
better.
Wampanoag Heritage, I think.
Mr. Pigeon, she sent me a message, at 7:28. It says that she arranged with you to speak next week. So,
Okay, I did get a message for that, and I thought there was two articles Leslie had asked, I think. Yeah, it was Leslie. Yes, you're right, thank you. And I believe I replied that I would move her to yes. Thank you very much for reminding me. Okay, then, that's it for the petitioned articles. We'll have three of them for next week, the 19 and 23 and 24. And that'll finish the petitioned articles. And this evening, we have CPC, Joan?
Yes.
And the last article, which is a special town meeting, removal and storage of Tremont Nail, that I believe you've discussed with Derek, and I have the copy of the paperwork also. They've taken care of that in some way.
The signs and the bell are down. The bell is actually here, and if you have a chance to look at it, look at it. It is beautiful.
Where is it located?
I think it's in the cafeteria right now, or somewhere downstairs right now.
That would be in the basement, yeah.
Yeah, Derek is gonna bring it up to the auditorium and put it on display so people can actually see it. It's quite beautiful from the pictures, so it was really great that we were able to save that. And hopefully we'll rebuild that bell tower that it sits in, and we can reuse it again, because the bell is actually beautiful. So I'm
And
glad
of
that was
course,
done.
he had to ring it.
Yeah.
Now, Joan, your first one is Article 12, which is the Preservation Fund reserves, and that's just a reallocation of monies, correct?
Correct.
Yep. So we don't have to go through that if you don't like to.
Okay, I'm just about ready.
Whenever you're ready,
Thanks.
take your time.
Okay, yes, so there are, four that we'll talk about tonight. We don't have to talk about the first one, Article 12. This is one that you're very familiar with. This is just a reappropriation, from the CPA revenue into the funds that we're required to do by law. And so that'll be 725 into administrative expenses, and then 145 into each of the following reserves. So that will be open space, historical preservation, and affordable housing. And the reason that we have to do that is it's required by law. So Mass General Law requires us to put 10% of our estimated revenue into those three categories, as well as up to 5% into administrative funds. We're estimating that the 2023 CPA revenue will be 1.45 million. And so the total that we will transfer into reserves from the anticipated revenue is $507,500. And we voted on 2/23/600 to submit this article to town meeting. There's probably, any questions on that?
How much, what's the revenue that money sits, as it sits idly by, earns every year, that they've been earning?
I don't know, but I can get the interest for you and send that over. We do have it broken out into what our interest is per year. I don't have that with me tonight.
Not very much.
But it sits with all of the rest of the CPA funds. So it's still sitting in the CPA funds, it's just broken out into reserves so that we are ensure that if an application comes in, that there will be appropriate funds for those three categories. Yes?
Where does the money come from?
The money is a combination of a local surcharge. So Wareham voted I think it was 2002, to do a 3% surcharge. So after the first $100,000 of real estate tax, there is 3% collected as a local surcharge. There is also a state match, and every year the state collects funds from all of the registrations. So every time a deed is registered or anything is registered at the deed office, that is put into a fund, and then that is distributed at the end of the year between the 187 towns in Massachusetts that are part of Community Preservation Act funding.
And we were the third.
We were very close in the beginning to, we were one of the first towns
We used to get a
to
lot
vote.
more money.
Yeah, we did really well on the return on CPA funding,
And
so.
the surcharges on properties, only for the real estate people are over $100,000 property value.
Correct, the first $100,000 is not
everybody.
part of the CPA
It's exempt.
tax, it's exempt. And then after that, it's 3%. So it's a local surcharge and there's a state match.
I mean, I know what is the state match? How much, what's the percentage now?
I don't know, but I know
Yeah,
that
low
last
20s?
year was a record year for money. I apologize.
$600,000.
It was a huge amount of money in state match for us last
When they
year.
first started that, it was up in the 70%, 73, 74%.
That's
Then
because
all
more
the towns,
towns.
all the towns got on board, and it's down around, I'm gonna say 22, 23%. It might be a little more, a little less.
But we did really well with the state match last year.
Yeah.
So it's, we anticipate next year between local, or FY '23, so this year, between our local surcharge and the state match, we'll add $1.45 million into the CPA account.
Yes, indeed, with the value of properties.
I was gonna say
It went
that.
through the roof for that time period there.
Since '02, things have gone.
If there was more inventory,
find houses under $100,000.
houses for sale, there'd be certainly a lot more real estate transactions, which add to it, but
Last year, we had huge amount of houses that were sold.
yeah. But you gotta have them to sell.
Okay, any other questions on that? We'll move on.
Thank you,
Mr. Chairman, may I invite Nanette Perkins to join me?
by all means.
Ms. Perkins will speak on this next article with me. Ms. Perkins is a affordable housing specialist, and she is also the property manager for 815 Main Street, and will also be the manager for the new development at 801 Main. And so this warrant article is to request the appropriation from community affordable housing reserve funds a grant to the villages 801 Main Street LLC that are located at 815 Main Street in Wareham, a grant in the sum of $300,000 to construct 6 affordable housing units and obtain a 40-year deed restriction on the land and structures at 801 Main. The explanation is John Scanlon is the owner and developer of this property, and he is proposing the creation of these 6 affordable housing rental units that are referred to as the 801 Village. This is adjacent to the current property at 815 Main, which is a beautiful development of 49 affordable housing units. Mr. Scanlon will oversee the project. He has 30 years of commercial and residential experience. The total cost of these 6 units, the land and the development of the 6 units, is $2.817 million. And the CPA funding request is $300,000, so it's 11% of the total. The team anticipates that they'll break ground this fall, and that the units will be ready for rental in the spring of 2023. Efforts are going to be made to accommodate Wareham residents in these units, and Ms. Perkins, who currently oversees 815 Main, will also oversee 801 Main, as well as the maintenance personnel for both of these properties. And there has been a letter of support in the packet from the Chief of Police in Wareham, who is supporting the addition to this development. The CPC voted on the 23rd of February to submit this article for consideration. This is the team, and as you can see, it is a team that's made up of folks who have experience not only in the building trades, but also in affordable housing. So it's a very complete team made up of Mr. Scanlon, Ms. Perkins, the Freeman Law Group, the Eisenberg Group, as well as architects and designers and soil experts. As I mentioned, the total anticipated cost of this new development of 6 housing units is $2.8 million. And you can see that the request for CPA funds is 11%. And I want to just make a statement about CPA funding, if I may. I hear people say all the time in town, why should we use CPA funds for this housing project or for this piece of land when, that's our tax dollars? And there's a misconception surrounding that. Typically, when groups come to us that are looking to purchase open space or that are involved in affordable housing projects, they are looking at a myriad of funding sources. And particularly with state and federal funding, oftentimes those funding sources require some type of support from the municipality. And so you will see groups that are looking to buy open space or that are looking to do affordable housing look for a small percentage of the total project cost in CPA funds. And that shows that the town is giving their support to this project happening in town. And I hear people say that all the time, so I just want to say that many of the grants, many of the state and federal grants, many of the foundation grants require some type of commitment by the town in order to then find the other funding sources. And you'll see here, there are varied funding sources for this project. There's a mortgage, there's a housing initiative, there's the Housing Stabilization Fund, the State Affordable Housing Trust, as well as our CPA money. So this is the request is for 11% of the total. Yes.
I'm all for affordable housing. But if you look at this project, okay, it's not rocket science. The company Scanlon, the LLC, okay, they're only gonna get a 12% mortgage. The rest of the money there is all from funds, which does not have to be paid back. Okay, now, the company is gonna rent these units, the LLC is gonna make a profit higher than 12%, and that's their mortgage. So, I'm not saying CPC is doing wrong, but this is, if I own this project, it's a great deal. I mean, he's gonna make money off of everyone else's money and only have a 12% mortgage. Shit, I love that.
I interject? Yes,
Go
I
right
would
ahead.
too.
I love it.
It's
That's
only
a
that
good deal,
easy.
man. Let's do it. I'm ready. Let's do it.
There is a lot more. First of all, our prices are going up, and we are looking to build modular in order to try and keep the costs down, and the costs are really rather amazing. I was on with DHCD today. What we are trying to do, so in other words, our mortgage is probably going to go up, but what we're trying
20%.
what we're trying to do is work directly with Jackie Hickey, who is the ED at Wareham Housing Authority. So I was on with DHCD today because there are, I guess, some issues with what's considered affordable housing and where the town of Wareham is on its numbers. So in my discussions with Kate Racer and Rebecca Frawley, they felt, quite honestly, that Wareham was a great town to benefit from this.
Agreed.
Our viewpoint also is that, this is a personal opinion right now, okay? Very large developments can bring with them very large problems. And our viewpoint is keeping things compact yet open, no more than 2 or 3 stories, scattered somewhat, it provides a better environment, and residents take more ownership in their units and take more pride in it. So I understand what you are saying. We are going to end up, if prices continue the way that they are, having to take out additional loans. So we needed to make our presentation in a one-stop application. It's for DHCD. And while our numbers are accurate, they are increasing every day. That's the first part. So, and it's not like the state's funds, believe it or not, are increasing every day. And if you look at HUD and if you look at what's in the books, there's not going to be a lot more, if any, housing funding, affordable housing funding. It's just really all being directed elsewhere. So that's part one. All right, go ahead. I know you.
No, go ahead. I'm gonna let you speak, because it's still gonna be amazingly profitable, even if you go to 30% mortgage.
But
You're
Tom,
getting 70% of the money.
that's the norm.
Bernie.
That's the way it goes about. I mean, I can see your
Right,
point, but this is the norm, the way it's
CPC is
accomplished.
our money.
Yes.
State, all these funds are our money. So, why don't you give me some money to make a profit? We're giving this guy money to make a profit. Now, affordable housing is good, we need it. And the trouble with is 815 Main. The rents at 815 Main are what? Bottom line for a 2-bedroom apartment. My opinion is, can I ask the other people,
1,200.
okay, now you believe that that's considered affordable for low-income people in Wareham? Not.
I remember, I think I was telling you, I remember when my rent was $350. It was $350. But we also can't lose. We do not make money on the village at 815 Main Street.
You know,
It's a low-income housing tax credit property.
Okay, you're trying to tell me that 815 get the same kind of funding.
No, we use tax credits for this. We're not using tax credits because it would put us out over 2 years before we could ever even
So,
break ground,
you
really.
could sit there and honestly look at us and say, once this is built, and you have, even if you have a 30% mortgage, that LLC is not gonna make a profit off of those rentals.
No, I can't say that because I don't know
Of
what
course
the
you're gonna
future
make a
holds.
profit, come on.
I don't know. But I
It's
will
not
also
rocket
say
science.
that
The numbers aren't rocket science.
people
Okay,
that
okay.
invest.
I'm sorry,
Please.
Bernie, I'm sorry, Bernie.
I understand what your point is,
And I'm all
Dominic.
All right, I'll leave it at that.
And I hear you,
Okay,
no.
And I'll refer to my friend over there, he's a numerologist.
But I do want to, I'll finish it up, just the bow. People don't invest, except maybe a non-for-profit, in affordable housing to just give their money away.
Agreed. We're giving 70, the state and us are giving 70% to this project.
The
And now I'm giving
CPC
you 18%.
The CPC, which is what we are coming to you for, funds, have to, we have to get buy-in from the town, and they're not just looking for a nice letter.
And the CPC does a great job, and they do their and to give, the money's there for affordable housing.
Right.
I just see, if you had said that was the only money that this project was gonna get, I'd say
Well,
great.
it wouldn't happen then.
Why wouldn't it happen?
For 300
CPC
For
is
300
giving 11%, but you're only putting 12% of your own money in,
As of this moment, correct.
as of your pie chart right there. You're only giving
We are
12% of your money.
Okay. Excuse me,
Go ahead, man.
because I understand your point of view,
Okay.
okay?
Am I wrong?
No, you're not wrong, but then, in order to accomplish it, this is the procedure that's written out to us. We don't have an option, I mean, we don't have the option to change what you're talking
Okay.
about, Don, but then let's go on.
Okay, go ahead, I'm sorry.
No,
And maybe
no.
you need to create your own project.
Do you think I could get 70% funding? No, I don't think so.
You would like,
If you're qualified,
David, do you have a
We'll
comment?
talk later.
how many bedrooms are you making? There are 6 units.
We'll show you that
All
in
right.
just a moment. If we can table
But
that for a
I'll back
second.
up.
Yes,
Okay.
because the question is, I mean, each unit is over 600,000 each.
it actually works out to slightly less than that, but yes.
649.5.
Okay, DHCD, I don't, are
So I'm wondering,
anyone in the building industry right now?
I mean, I built small houses, that's all.
Okay, recently? So you know,
A couple years ago.
okay.
Recently.
Recently,
Yeah, just got the occupancy permit.
congratulations.
Thank you.
The rates are up through the roof right now.
Prices are, they aren't, increasing. They're increasing. It's worse than gasoline. If you go to Home Depot, or the Lowe's over here is a great example, plywood, it literally, they must have people there all night long doing nothing but changing the prices. We want to do this. I believe in doing this. Is the timing spectacular? No, not by a long shot.
no, it just, at 650,000 for a unit, and that just seems high.
You
And
build your beautiful house.
Well, yeah.
I hope it is.
Could be.
We
could
have
be.
to have fire ratings, we have to have sprinkler systems, we have to, there are DHCD and HUD requirements that we have to follow to the T, and we are. We're also looking at, trying to use energy saving toilets and hot water heaters and mini splits that will be more economical utility-wise, but also will make it better for the environment, better for the town.
Another question.
Yes, sir,
When an affordable housing unit is built,
yes.
how long does it stay affordable?
Well,
Well, and the restriction is for 40 years.
And after 40 years?
Nobody has ever told me of
value.
what has happened after that.
So it becomes market value, it becomes.
Well, it doesn't necessarily become market value. It depends if you refinance, which some people do, at which point the affordability stays with it and increases. I mean, I just did a refinance for another property 2 years ago, and HUD was involved, and they just continued everything. They doubled it, really, is what ended up happening, which that's how it works with affordable
So
sometimes.
if you're dealing with HUD,
Well, and we do
Or-
work with HUD and DHCD, and DHCD is the branch.
well, actually, in 40 years, you've paid off your mortgage, and it's completely owned by the LLC.
You also have capital expenditures that are gonna occur within that 40 years.
Everyone does in their house.
20 years.
Right.
Absolutely, but wear and tear in a rental property is a little bit different, I can assure you, than a homeowner. It just is.
So why don't you move on, Joe, with your presentation? Because I think you have some pictorials that may be interesting.
All right, so for those of you that are familiar, are you familiar with where this property is? So if you go past the Deacon School, go under the bridge, Ferring Hill goes off to the left. This is the property on the right that is now 815 Main, where the 49 units are. And there are two driveways to enter. There's one here and there's one here. This is where the 801 Village will be located. There'll be no curb cuts. It will still access through 815 Main. So you'll come in either through here or through here to access this property. And for those of you who haven't seen it, it really is a lovely property. The units themselves, if you drove in here, you would think you were in a beautiful condo complex. You would not think you were in an affordable housing complex. It is a beautiful, beautiful neighborhood community. The inside of the units, I stopped by yesterday, the inside of the units are also lovely. There are currently 11 one-bedroom units, 35 two-bedroom units, and 3 three-bedroom units at the 815 Main. The amenities, which will also be shared with the 801 Village, include a community center, a weight room. There is a huge playground with play equipment for children. There's a basketball court. There is a community garden. There's open space. There are picnic tables. There are grills. And there are night vision cameras all over that you can see when you drive through. And pets are welcome, which is really nice for folks too. So it is truly a lovely site.
I go through it almost every day, or past it anyway. And when I drove through, I didn't realize until this paperwork came up that it was an affordable housing.
Thank
unit.
you.
Yeah.
That's
It-
nice to
Very
hear.
well maintained, very well.
It is, it's very well-maintained property.
It's a beautifully maintained property. It was
there,
built in
yeah.
2010 and it looks
Yeah,
brand
you drive
spanking
by the
new.
outside, you forget how many units are back there when you drive by.
Yeah, you
Wow.
can't see it from the street.
It's beautiful.
This is what the 801 Village drawings look like. So there will be actually 6 buildings. This is the townhouse style building, and there will be 2 new 3-bedroom townhouses. There will be 2 new 2-bedroom townhouses. This is a 1-bedroom ranch style unit that is ADA compliant. And then this is the barn that's on the property at 801 Main. So that there is a house over here that has already been renovated that is beautiful.
Beautiful, isn't it?
It is lovely.
It's a lot of work. Thank you.
And then this is the barn that is, there's a house here, the barn is here, and then 815 is over here. And 801 buildings will go in here. But this barn goes back quite a ways. It's quite long, and that will be converted into a 3-bedroom unit.
Excuse me, let me interrupt. You said thank you. Do you own that piece of property? That the
But
one
I
you're
manage
covered?
it. It's mine. It's my baby. I'm there every day.
Beautiful, beautiful job.
Thank you so much.
So this is the project. This is what will be included in the request for CPA funding. And if there are any other questions.
No?
How are residents selected for these units?
So there are a couple of ways. We do need to have a lottery. I am trying to work right now with DHCD and Wareham Housing so that I can take, she has, her project-based or, they're considered extremely low-income individuals, so that we can work directly with her in order to fill all of the units, actually. There are different ways to do it, so we can get some of the project base, so they stay with the unit, from DHCD. Other ones need to come from HUD. We're kind of putting it all together. Because I'll be very honest with you, I think that your executive director is really sharp. That's Jackie Hickey. She's just sharp. And I'd love to work directly with her so that we are able to secure Wareham residents. DHCD doesn't like that, though. DHCD is not a fan of local preference. They're into kind of a centralized system right now, but that's what I'm shooting for, and they know what my goal is, because as I said, I talked to 2 of the higher ups today.
Is it primarily families? Is it elders?
We're
is it
a
mix?
total mixture over at the Village at 815, and I know we'll be a mixture over here too.
Sodi?
Just quickly, affordable, and this, nothing to do with you, but Wareham, I just read recently, the median income in the state is like $81,000 or $82,000. In Wareham, it's $63,000. That's a big difference, and I know they go by the Boston market. If I've heard that once, I've heard it 100 times, and it's a shame that it really shuts out a lot of the Wareham people who could certainly use it. Yeah, it's just a
Well, but now, just so
soapbox
you know,
there.
and you're right, it is, it's unfair, which is part of the reason that I'm pushing for 30%. People that don't make, or their gross income is not more than 30% of the area median income.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm trying to do by working directly with by working
I mean,
directly
the
with
numbers are
Wareham
the
residents.
numbers. I mean, it's.
Yeah, but I want to
Yeah.
target that extremely low income.
It just, so you get 49 units and you're putting up 6. These are all 55 of them are gonna stay affordable for the next number of years.
Absolutely.
And when you say modular, so these are prefabs coming in?
Well, they're not really prefab. So they've got the shell. We still have to do all the foundation and all the electrical and all the plumbing and all the siding and all the roofing. Yes, we'll be needing to get special permits for the roads. So we still have to do the foundation work. We are doing a new septic system, by the way. We've already perked. The old house that was renovated, we are making it so that we can tie in to the septic that's being built for these new units. We're simply going to tie in. So there's a lot more. I always thought modular. I thought they were like a trailer home kind of.
Yeah.
You know?
No, they come.
No, they're not.
Well, just look at your time frame from the fall to the spring.
Right.
All we hear is the supply chain, that there certainly could be some issues there. I mean,
There
it'd be wonderful if they could be done in the spring. I mean, the sooner you get them in, the better off. It's just,
Exactly.
again, just
And
get
we've
on my
already, it's not like
soapbox.
we haven't spoken with them, you know,
Right.
they already know I'm here tonight. So as soon as we,
Yeah. And I think it's a great idea, and going to Dominic's point, you know, sometimes you sit and listen to these things, you gotta hold your nose, you don't love it, but it's a good idea. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. I mean, I'd certainly support any affordable housing we could get. I just would like to be able to bring the money down a little bit and make it more affordable for the Wareham folks.
and they are being targeted to that. So we're on the same page.
But I do like the smaller units also, as
I-
opposed to a 50 or 40 unit
I just,
apartment building.
we're very lucky where we are. I got in there 8 or 9 years ago and I immediately put cameras in. I wanted to make sure that no problems came in. I can deal with problems that live there, but I just didn't want people coming in, quite honestly. I would never build, quite honestly, bigger than this, bigger than the 49. I like small neighborhoods. You know, I've created it, which is great. One of my residents passed away recently from COVID. He was in a nursing home, and everybody, and he was elderly. Everybody's been bringing still Mary food and going with her places and helping her figure out the FiOS and figure out her password because she doesn't have any records. So there is definitely a neighborhood feel to it, which is super
What's been the turnover?
very low. We're at about 3%. So that's very low.
Since 2013?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. DHCD has us do it annually. So I just know that that's where we were for 2021. I just had to do a report for them.
Since the project started, when they first opened?
I could compile all that, but I would have to get back to you with it. I'd be glad
I
to.
mean, that's an important thing to look at, I think, is to how long these people are in these houses and what it's done for them.
Some people have told
Whether
me
it's
they're gonna die there.
Launch them or
And
whatever.
other ones have bought homes. Absolutely, I'd be glad to. I have a list also why everyone has left.
You've, I'm sure, looked at 3D printed houses?
Yeah,
Where's the nearest ones that are happening right now?
I don't know.
New
Yeah.
Hampshire, I think.
Wow.
And you're trying to reduce the cost of these babies
Right, but still.
and
Make it
get them
safe and
done. I mean,
quality.
because time is a factor and these happen quicker and at less expense, apparently. I would suggest that maybe in your next project that you consider doing it because it would put Wareham on the map a little bit in terms of what we're offering, where we are, what our thinking is about.
I'll research it.
Pardon me?
I'll research it. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, Austin's putting 100 in, and they're gonna have them in within 6 months, so, I mean,
What's the name of the, excuse me, can I ask this type of thing?
Go ahead.
What's the name of the company? Do you know?
but just go to Austin, Texas and find
And
out
look
what
for
they're
their
doing.
3D.
there.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, that's kind of cool.
I mean, we have got to be out in advance rather than following along behind, and I think one way the community gets focused is by doing things that are unique and different,
I agree. I do agree.
and this is,
That's pretty cool.
an opportunity to do stuff like that.
Joan, this is not the first involvement CPC has had with 801, is it? I think
I don't know if they were involved with 815 at all, but it is the first time that I think we've seen 801.
Yeah, I don't remember
this would
seeing.
predate, I believe,
Oh,
your
yeah,
arrival.
that would go back to 2010.
I just saw P. Sumpler. I haven't been here that long either.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I can look that up too. I have all the closing documents, et cetera.
Just a thought of information. Okay, why don't you move on, Joan?
Great, thank you, Nanette. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
it.
much. If you have any questions.
Thank you very much.
This will be for the special town meeting, and this is a return of funds from completed projects. So we're looking to return $56,325 from the Lopes Field Play Area Engineering Plan that was approved in 2016. They used a total of $18,675, and so we'll be returning the rest. The reason that we have to do it is because any funds that are not used from a project need to be returned to community preservation funds. And on the 23rd of February, we voted 600 to return these funds to bring it to the special spring town meeting. Pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
And
this is
then,
usually one of those housekeeping things we have to go through.
may I invite Gary Buckminster to join for the next.
Oh, you have someone new, perhaps.
There's 8 copies of this, just so you have hard copies of it.
So this is a project for beach mobility access mats. And so this is to see if the town will appropriate from community preservation undesignated funds or from funds under the category of open space recreation, a grant to the Department of Natural Resources in the amount of $60,000 for the purchase of mobility mats and the equipment that we need to install it on town-owned beaches. I'm gonna leave the explanation because Gary has a whole presentation to do for you. But what I would like to point out to the group is that these are being used by many of the beach communities in Massachusetts. And I've spoken with a number of the community preservation groups who have used CPA funds to buy these mats. Not only have they bought mats, they have placed second and third orders. So these have been extremely popular in Nantucket, Truro, Plymouth, Marshfield, Westport, Salem, Newburyport, that have all utilized CPA funding to actually purchase these and have gone ahead and bought more. So on February 9th, the CPC voted 6-0-0 to submit this article to the special town meeting. And I am now gonna turn the presentation to Gary.
Thank you. And you have the entire presentation in front of you as well, just to follow through. Should be 10 slides. Basically, here's our beginning. So we can go through this one. Basically, we're going to be proposing 750 feet of mobile mats. This is for Onset Beach east of the pier, Onset Beach west of the pier, coming off of Shell Point, as well as Little Harbor and Swift's Beach and Swift's Neck. We've designated some areas to look at, and they are adjustable. Obviously, we want to look at contours and make sure that we're providing a safe grade and things of that nature. So let's see where we at. Surface. If you've ever seen them before, Provincetown, a lot of the Cape Towns have them there. You can drive on them. I spoke with Director Menard from Municipal Maintenance. He did state that they can work their way around them, and if they have to pass over them, they can. The machines won't destroy them. We had about a 10-year shelf life with these. They're made of recycled materials, which we'll get to in a moment. There we are. So recycled plastics, basically bottles, everything else that they put into it is what the material's made of. It is recognized as ADA compliant. It's UV protected, and it's temperature. It won't burn your feet when you're walking on it. It absorbs. It doesn't absorb heat like your normal mats. So
Tootsies, huh?
Tootsies, yeah, get a little chuckle out of it. Part of it is the easy install. We also, the machine this gentleman's using will allow you basically to have one or two people deploy these mats and install them, so we don't need a large workload. The spool of mat will go onto this deployment machine, and it also retrieves it. So we did put in for a couple of those. It's lightweight, recycled material. They can be removed easily. I know storms are always a concern, and we don't want to lose these. So a 50-foot roll is 88 pounds. So basically you can throw it over your shoulder and bring it down. 6.5 is the length we preferred to go with. It gives you a little larger of a walking platform. They have a 5-foot as well. And the 50-foot sections just make it easier. Cost of shipping with the Moby mats is shipping was to be determined, but they were able to get it to us as soon as we got this presentation on. So your mats are around $40,035. Your shipping is $120,226.11. The next row, your Moby mat stove, which is the machine the little stroller looking thing that we were talking about. There's three carts that would be around $11,000 because each one's specially built. Lumber is just for transitional areas, primarily at Little Harbor because there's a drop-off. And we're going to utilize the beach comber that we have because we can actually drag sand and feather sand up to the parking lot. So not only can it just clean it, it actually can pull and manage the sand height. So if we find a high area, we can build that area up. And you'll see a lot of places that'll have a wood transitional mat with a little bit of a concrete passageway between the asphalt and the wood, so it'll be a nice smooth egress from the parking lot onto the mats. And the other thing that was really nice about the situation, the mats, is the logo. You can get logo mats, so we ended up with 8 of them, and you can, over time, if it's something that you want to sponsor a beach, or you want to look into something where there can be something put to a specific cause. Every year somebody can sponsor one of these mats, and you can have it change it out. I preferred to have the carry in, carry out, and you can put your community preservation information on it, and and put a nice inviting saying on each one for each beach you're at, and specifically mark them off for what one you're going to. So this is the actual quote, and it's in your files also. They are in the state contract. The town has purchased from this company before, and they've provided us with the complete breakdown on this quote, and it's still good until we get to the point of approval. Hoping, if depending on everything else is slow, trying to get things here. I would hope for this summer. If not, it's, you know, we'd definitely run right into 2023 and have a full deployment. They'd be installed on June 1st, and also removed on Labor Day. That's same thing we do with our swim lines. That's what we do with our markers. We just try to keep consistent and tied into that same frame. And they'll all be stored at our workshop. We have about a 45-foot one of those Conex boxes that we purchased a few years ago, and we can actually roll them up and store them in there. It's weather tight, sealed, no animals, anything. So it's all maintained. I wish these pictures were a little bigger just so you could actually see it. So the very first picture on the left is obviously Swift's Beach and Swift's Neck parking lot. So we'd be coming off the handicap parking on the left-hand side of the picture, and then taking a turn and heading down to the beach section, which doesn't have any grass in it. It's the cleanest area for people being able to access the water and not have to deal with the peat bank and some other things coming in. The second one to the right of it would be coming off of the Swift's Neck parking lot, and that's where the new handicap parking is located. So we're thinking just a straight shot into the beach, so you have plenty of access along that mat to be able to utilize that beach section. And the beach comber can get around both locations. The middle one was Onset. It actually did not grab all of them, but that's the middle of Onset Beach, and that's the stairway. I believe that's the one that's got the pump station next to it that's underground when you're driving along South Boulevard. Shell Point would have been on the bottom of that picture, and you'll see that one actually head towards the water more. And the third and fourth location is another stairway on South Boulevard, and then the last one comes off of the Onset, the old bathhouse, the concrete platform, and it goes down to that portion of beach. There's also a section on the east side of Onset Pier. For those who don't know that side, that's the side that the Viking docks at. And we've picked two locations. One is there's one stairway in particular that's extremely busy. So there's just a small portion just to get people over the hump of sand there, and they can make it down the stairs and they have something to stand on. And then the other one would be down by the Stonebridge Bar and Grill or the Glen Cove Inn, and coming off of that nice egress that's on the side bank there, just so you have two different areas, because that's a very nice portion of beach. I think it's actually overlooked quite often. It's a really nice location. Finally, Little Harbor. It's one section. It's where all the handicap parking is. And I think probably we can add some more spaces to that location when we get going, just to heighten the accessibility. Thank you. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
And the nice thing about these mats are that it's not just for folks in wheelchairs. These can be used by everyone. So it's seniors who have mobility issues. It's moms with strollers with kids. It's dads that are pulling the wagon that has, everything that people are bringing to the beach with them. It's just us who don't want to just trudge through the sand. So these are great walkways for everyone to use to access the beach and the water.
I think last year one of the biggest things that was a big push on the drive is not only the people coming up and talking to us about access, and we started getting more beach wheelchairs that were available. One donated by the coalition, one was donated by the Salerno family, and then we have another family that donated a third one to us. But I was actually driving along South Boulevard, and there was a family of three with a elderly lady in a walker, and they were halfway down the beach in the center, trying to get her down to the water. And I pulled over and I ran down and I said, if you want to stay here, I'll drive right back, grab you a wheelchair and bring it back, and you guys can take it. And but that pretty much started stimulating that we really need to look at some of this access here, and I think it's important to open it up to everybody. We have a lot of people here that just want to utilize what we have, and they can't get down there.
Alex?
So.
Gary, can they use electric wheelchairs?
Yes.
And the scoop,
Yeah, it's quite it's a very firm mat. I was very impressed with it when we were looking at them, because I took, when we start looking at things, I don't try to recreate the wheel. We go to other towns and look and see what they have and see what it's about, and I was thoroughly impressed with how durable this setup is. So
They were actually developed for the Marine Corps. So the Marine
Yeah.
Corps used them to get their heavy equipment from across the beach to the water. And so if they can transport military equipment on them, we can probably walk on them.
Yeah, and they actually do sell like portable boat ramps made with this, so you can, if you have a beach that you need to utilize, you can lay this down and utilize it. Especially like Town of Marion, with their small Beverly Yacht Club races, things like that. They could take a beach and drop this mat down and drive regular, all-wheel drive cars up and down with trailers and have no issues with it. So,
Now, you anticipate just laying these things out at the beginning of the season,
yes.
and aside from storms, leave them until the end of the season?
Yes, correct, and they're pinned, so we'll pin them as we go, and that they anchor pretty well, and the pins do come right back out. And, we obviously want to make sure that we're on them. We're talking that, our staff and the summer staff will go down there. We have a leaf blower in the morning and just go and just get the sand off to the sides and make sure they're clean and there's no hazards and make sure there's no damage, just so.
You need some sponsors. You gotta go out and get some sponsors.
Well, like I said,
These
those
are free.
like
Yeah.
the mats that you can get the sponsorships on, and I think it's a nice way to generate some talk and try and get some different projects. So
Jody?
I think it's a great idea. I
thank you.
just got back from South Carolina where they were down pretty much permanently and they were fantastic. But, I just, only because I have trouble with stairs, put them at the bottom of the stairs. The people that really need to use the mats aren't going to want to come down the stairs. So I don't know how you address that because they're more than likely going to come out the ramp over and the restaurant stashes down that way
Yep.
or by the boathouse here.
The mats, we're primarily trying to focus on the parking lots that have handicap access, and you can get to those, so you can target those locations. The reasoning for the stairs is you have a extremely long beach here, and you do have, like I said, with the lady with the walker, she came down the stairs and was halfway across the beach. So if thank God the family could help her down the stairs, but once she gets to that area where she doesn't have that resistance of trucking through the sand, I think it's just a little bit of added benefit. And I have to tell you, the stairways starting at the west side of this building all the way to Shell Point are terrible. Every single one of them should be torn out. They should be reassessed. And you should look at transitional ramps. You should look at different stairs. You should look at modifications to this. It's just time to fix this stuff.
Yeah.
And
that was going to be my next point. Those stairs are
and that's
issue
and that's
themselves, and
that's
make them a little
The
bit easier for
railings
that
are
guy
gone.
carrying the stroller down with the wife and the 3 kids dragging behind him.
Well,
It's
this
tough.
is a if we're starting this is a phase one. Let's go to the next step and target your access all the way down the coastline on this.
Yeah.
The stairs will tie into this access to recreation. So I think it's a sound investment, and where we're going to get another. These stairs are 50, 60 years old. I mean, so let's get another 50, 60 out of something that's up to date.
I think it's a great
today's needs.
investment. Did the wheelchairs get much use?
They did. We keep them. We have to keep them chained up because people unfortunately will take off and move them around.
I understand that. Yeah.
We got to the point where they were all utilized, and we just didn't have it. We had no extras to go, and I'd like to see it go down to putting it to the waterfront here and tie this into their programs instead of having to come to us with it, because at least they can be brought in at night. We leave them out and we keep them off to the side of the building and we keep them maintained, but we, it was nice to see the amount of people coming down. We had a lot of young children that came down that, have some mobility issues, and they utilized them.
Yeah.
So, and there's a lot of other options too. We've looked at a few that actually have floats on them, and they're 3 wheels, and you can walk behind and take them into the water and push them around. But you're looking at a $3,000-$4,000 wheelchair. It's an expensive investment, and they're aluminum. They won't rust. It's designed specifically for this, and I know, I think Barnstable utilizes. They have a few available on some of their public beaches, and at some point we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But for now, I think we're getting to the step where we're finally going to get back to it. And we had them once before when we had a recreation department back in the 90s. We used to have some mats, and it wasn't anything of 750 feet or across town, but it was just focused strictly at this building when there was a program still going.
How many handicap spots do we have down on Shell Point?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 so far.
There's more than I thought down there.
Yeah, there's 4 that are on. I'd like to see them all brought over to one side, but it's nice to have 2 because we do have a lot of people that just like getting to that other side of the beach that goes into Sunset Cove.
It'd be nice at some point to put a couple chairs down there too.
Yeah.
I know you gotta lock
Yeah.
everything up at night, just
Yeah, well, and
adds
you know
weird
that,
hours,
that
but-
that side of the beach has gotten eroded pretty bad. So you do have an old stairway, and it's washed away, and the old wall has come back, and Mother Nature puts stuff back where it's supposed to be. It's we fix it. We fix it to where we think it's supposed to be, and then it's back to where it was really supposed to be. So that's.
Any other questions, Norma?
I think this is a great thing to do.
Thank you.
We need it.
You know, I like I said, this is a group. There's a lot of people in town that are involved, thinking this. That we're behind this and thinking that this should be approached too. And we just tie it in because obviously with the department and what we do, it's a fit for us to, take on this challenge. So.
But it's nice to have CPC funds that we can do this.
Yeah.
A great use of the funds, I think.
Yeah.
It is. And a lot of towns are doing it. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just, it's been very popular, a very popular use of CPA funds.
As I said to you before the meeting, some of these things are just really no-brainers, and I certainly put this in that category.
I think it's going to get utilized well. I don't think this is a loss.
Oh, I do too.
It's.
I think it's inclusive for our community.
Jerry, do you have anything?
Excellent.
No other questions? Thank you very much, Joan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Okay, that concludes everything we have scheduled on our agenda. Anyone care for make any comments or concerns? Next meeting is the 23rd, same time, same place,
Same channel.
same channel. You watch the Bat Channel, huh?
Okay, motion to adjourn?
Second.
The motion to adjourn is second. Any discussion? There being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's a vote. Thank you.